Hi guys, we're here at the garden shed and I am doing our last harvest of the season. Hey, what are you doing? Blue is always my big time helper, as you know. It's a beautiful day today. Cheddar is sunbathing up by the garage, but Blue definitely has to be here to help. So today I am doing our last harvest of the season. I'm actually bringing in our cured butternut squash, so I thought I would tell you a little bit about curing them if you haven't done it before. I also cut down our sunflower heads, and we're gonna save those for the birds for winter, save a few seeds for us for next year, and as well as save our dill. So if you haven't saved seeds before and you are a little leery to do it, I thought I'd turn on the camera and show you my little tips and tricks. And if you haven't cured squash, I'm gonna go through that as well. The stem will likely be green on the inside when you go ahead and cut it, but as it sits in the cool, dark place, it will harden up and get brown, just like you can see this one here. It's nice and brown. So your flesh should be certainly hard, no marks from any bugs. Make sure you look them over quickly, and I actually dunk them in a water and apple cider vinegar solution to kind of take off any of the buggy germies from outside that may exist on it. So again, we're organic, so we don't have anything sprayed on them, but there's certainly environmental elements that you probably want to take out just to prevent any mold or any situations from happening in your pantry. Some people use a bleach and water solution. I prefer to go a little more natural with the apple cider vinegar and water solution. Now for butternut squash, and there's a few other winter varieties that require this as well, I'll try to pop a little picture on the screen of the varieties that you have to cure, like butternut. So for butternut, you actually want to cure them in a warm, humid place for 10 to 14 days after you cut them. So if you've never planted squash or cured squash before, here's what you do. Make sure your squash is nice and tan, this uniform color, before you cut them from the vine. Your stem, you'll want to make sure that your stem is a little bit brown and definitely not bright, vibrant green before you cut it, because if it's bright and vibrant green, that plant is still trying to provide some nutrient to the squash itself. And you're going to want all of that because that's what makes it sweet and rich and savory and delicious. So make sure that your stem is kind of dying off, so then you'll know pretty easily that this squash is ready to be picked. Once you pick your squash, you're going to put it in a humid, warm place for 10 to 14 days. So for me, that's the garden shed here. I just lay out a rack, make sure there's airflow on all sides of your squash, and leave them in there 10 to 14 days. When you put them in, every couple of days, go ahead and turn them on the rack. So that's just gonna make sure you don't get any soft spots and everything kind of cures evenly. These guys have been in the garden shed for 14 days, and I will take a little peek here and make sure that they're ready to go inside to the cool, dark place now, just like you treat your buttercup. So I'm just gonna take my thumbnail, press it into the squash, and it shouldn't leave an indentation, or maybe a very slight indentation is just fine. So that's what this guy does, and it tells me my squash are ready to go to the cool, dark place, so our pantry, with the buttercups. And by curing it, I have increased the life of this squash to up to 6 months. For us, that's awesome. We had a great harvest this year. We had 30 butternut squash. There's actually 2 still curing, or actually still growing in the garden. We're going to cross our fingers and see if they can survive, because we've had some really cold nights, but I'm letting them go. If they survive, that'll be 32 butternut squash this year, which is amazing. We definitely need all the life we can get out of them so that we can eat them well into March. We're late September now, so 6 months from now would really be about March, which is amazing. So I'm gonna take these guys, toss them on the 4-wheeler, and then we'll go ahead and talk about sunflower seeds and saving the heads. So the first thing you do is make sure you leave yourself plenty of stem when you cut this down. That's just to make your life easier when you're tying them up and hanging them to dry. The next thing that you're going to do is clean this guy up. So I have some extra leaves. I'm just going to cut them off on the back side. Just rip anything that's kind of excess you don't need to dry all of that, and it'll save the plant a little bit of time in taking care of it. And then if we flip this guy over, you're going to see some remnants of the flowers that created these beautiful seeds after they were pollinated. We're going to rub all of that off as well so that the seeds can get the air directly to them and dry properly. So it should be really easy if you cut them late in the season. Again, let Mother Nature do most of the work. I leave these up until they're really hanging almost straight down. You can tell that Mother Nature is ready to get rid of this guy when the heads are facing the ground. And then I cut them. So just take the sunflower head and rub your hand on it, and you'll be able to get rid of almost all of those leftover, whoops, little bug, the leftover flowers. And you'll expose these beautiful seeds. It's okay if a few seeds fall out. They should be quite loose at this point in the season because they're nice and dry. So if a few seeds fall out, it's actually a good indication for you that you picked and harvested at the right time. So just get off as much of that excess flour as you can. And look at that. We exposed these beautiful sunflower seeds. You're going to want to catch them with some fabric, or if your sunflowers are nice and small, a paper bag is a great item to use to kind of just catch all of your seeds. For me, this sunflower is way too big, so I'm actually using some super cheap landscaping fabric. You can see almost right through this guy. So something really thin. You just think of airflow. You want the air to be able to reach the seeds. So nothing thick. Cheesecloth would work, or any kind of nice light toweling. So maybe a flour sack towel. Those are great, and they're nice and big if you have big sunflowers like this mammoth guy right here. So super simple. Seeds are already coming out. Put it seed side down. Grab some jute, string, wire, anything that you have. So this is just jute. It's natural, which is why I like to use it. Bring your corners up. First, we're just going to secure the fabric, or whatever you're using, paper bag perhaps, to the stem itself. So just wrap these guys around. And then you're going to want to go ahead and just tie the jute around the fabric and the stem nice and tight, so when your seeds start to kind of shake out as it dries, you're not losing any of them. If you have a helper or maybe a little kid that can help, this is a great place to do that. Get them involved. Just be sure you're tying this on there nice and tight, especially with these big guys. They're really heavy, so you don't want to risk losing your seeds after you hang them up because your fabric fell off. So secure it just super tight. I go around a couple times and just use up all of this jute just to be sure my fabric is on there. Okay, give it a little shake, make sure my fabric's not going to come off. So as you see, there's a little bit of breathing room. Everything is a little bit loose around the head itself, so when the seeds fall, they're not going to kind of stack up and create a problem that way. Next thing you do, again, whatever you have, jute, string, yarn, as long as your sunflower head is not too heavy, you can really get by with just about anything. Give yourself a good chunk of it. I like to give myself plenty to work with. Wrap it around. The easiest thing to do is just create a loop, pull both strings through, and then go ahead and come around with both strings and tie it to the stem again. So because this guy is so heavy, I'm going to do that a couple of times here because I definitely don't want it to fall when I hang it up. And then I have this beautiful excess string. So what I'm going to do with this is tie a couple knots on the end. Hello, little pollinator. Oops, go away, please. Just tie a couple knots on the end so it's nice and strong. And I hang these right in the garden shed. So make sure your string is nice and strong. It can support your sunflower, and I'll show you how we hang these in just a minute. The other way that you can save your seeds is by saving the seeds themselves and not the whole head. So let's look at this here. So here I have a head, and I've already started plucking the seeds out of it, as you can see this beautiful pile right here. This is how I save the seeds that I want to retain for planting next year. So again, rub off all of the remaining flowers, and then just go in with your thumb and pluck out the seeds. It should be, again, super easy. They should come out kind of like a nice loose tooth. So pluck out your seeds just like that. Because I have so many seeds to deal with, I actually am a little bit picky when I go through and choose the ones that I'm going to save for planting. And anything else, again, even if you pluck them out, can go to your birds. So definitely don't waste it. Just be picky, make sure they don't have any insect damage. And then a great way to save it, you can, like I have this dill here, you can make a little kind of a picture frame hanger. This again just has some of the same fabric, the landscaping fabric that we use, and we just stapled it to it. So you could put it on a little hanger like this, throw your seeds on and spread them out just like that, and they'll dry beautifully in your garden shed, in your garage, wherever you're going to put these. In your pantry would be just fine as well. So you can hang them just like that to dry. Again, airflow is the name of the game when you're drying anything. Next way to do it, if you don't have a place to hang it, is save one of these kind of paper egg cartons and just whop your seeds in there, a few in each little chamber. You don't want too many in each chamber so they don't kind of stack up and create mold if you're not putting them in the exact right conditions. But 10 or so per little chamber is perfect. The paper portion of this will kind of help wick any remaining moisture away from them. And then you can just close this up, toss it on your shelf, maybe write sunflower seeds on it, and you'll be ready for next year. Again, cool, dark place. Make sure they're not in any kind of moisture-rich environments, and you'll be just fine for next year. Same method for our dill. Anything that grows on a stalk, this will be perfect for. So I just cut our dill, gave myself plenty of stem to work with, tied that stem together, and I'm putting this one over this little kind of picture frame. If you look closely here, let me see if I can get it. You can see this has been hanging in the garden shed for a couple of weeks. I think I picked it the same time I picked the squash. So you can see that some of the seeds have actually naturally fallen off of the heads. And if I rub it together, I'll get some more seeds there as well. So beautifully dry. You can let this hang in your garden shed, in your garage, wherever you're going to put it all season, and next year you'll be ready to rock and roll. So I really do like this method. It takes up a little bit more space, so it's not for everybody. You can also put your beautiful little dill bouquet in some, same method as sunflower seeds, in some thin landscaping fabric, in a cheesecloth or a flour sack, and hang it up the same way. So I just put a screw on the back side of my loft here in the garden shed, and I hang my sunflower seeds and any other seeds you can see I have here to dry throughout the winter. So that's my super easy method for saving sunflower heads and just about any kind of seed. Remember, let Mother Nature do most of the work. She definitely knows what she's doing. Blue and I will see you right here next Tuesday.